direction, I start to V. Snakes in the grass, so they harder to see. My brother would give up his life to the O. He told me he'd go be a martyr for me. Said that she ready to go, cause nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top, but it's gotta be lonely below.
Welcome back to Criminal Diesel Boys. We have today a project that we are going to start tonight. Right about now, it's about a month before one of the biggest shows of the season. It's also like the season opener thing. We're going to Motorama 2023 down in Harrisburg, PA with the big old girl here. We have obviously the truck. You can't really see it that well, but we have my Mega that's going to be hauling her down there. She is out here ready to make her debut. In order to do that, we have a special surprise for you guys tonight. The modification we are going to do, there's actually a couple of them, but the main one that we're going to do, I have never, ever seen on a truck or vehicle ever. As you guys can probably tell by the thumbnail, we are going to do a StarLight headliner inner fender well. As you can see, it's looking a little plain, if you ask me. I would say the King shocks complemented by the Wicked and BDS suspension just isn't doing it. The polished and red powder coat just isn't enough. So in order to flare it up a little bit, we are going to put, I think it's 500 stars in each fender well for you guys to experience. When I tell you this is going to be a one-of-a-kind modification, I would trust me on that up until someone might possibly copy this. I don't really know. I've never seen it done. We are starting out with a fresh set of unlimited boundaries because, boys, we are going to space once again. So since this is such a tedious process, the goal for tonight is pretty much just to get the fender liners out. We're gonna get the wheels and tires off because we're going to put the fronts and the backs, the front. You guys know the deal. What we're looking at here, and this goes pretty much the same for the front also. So we got our inner fender liner here. It's looking a little dull, like I already explained. What we're gonna do, we're gonna take this out on these trucks, specifically the Rams. We have these little bolts going around here that we have to take out. We gotta clip the all the rock lights off because they're obviously wired in behind here. So we gotta take all those out. Find a silver Sharpie somewhere in the shop here. We can probably start marking out where the stars are actually going to go, and then we can start sanding. Pretty much going to color match the inner fender liner because no one wants boring StarLight without a nice good old paint to finish or paint to match inner fender well. I'm gonna get the tires and rims off right now and pretty much just get going. All right, so it's currently midnight. So we got the fender liners out, as you've seen. Now you can see how they look. They're just laying here. But we got all the wires snipped off of here, and we still have the rock lights in. What we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to take off those rock lights from the back side, put them off to the side while we start the whole sanding process. All right, so this is the next day. We're back up here. We took all the fender liners to the car wash and got them all washed up. They were a little bit dirty coming off of the truck since the truck hasn't been washed in a couple months. This is a front fender liner. We got the two rears back there, front right here. We're going to start the marking progress of putting all the little individual dots on here for every single fiber optic cable. We're gonna put all the little silver Sharpie marks on top of here, and then we're gonna drill through each hole, and then we will start the sanding process after everything is drilled out, because when that drill goes through, most likely, I think, it's going to leave a burr on top and bottom. It'd be pointless to sand right now in regards to just sanding after that's all taken care of, so we can get the whole piece of plastic sanded and all the burrs gone at the same time. Starting to dive into the actual process of putting the lights on. It's very tedious, very slow, takes a long time. That's why a lot of people don't even do StarLight headliners. Actually, there's quite a lot of people that do them now, but over the course of 5 years, the amount of StarLight headliners has accumulated, obviously, to tens of thousands. The StarLight headliner, we have a piece of foam to work with. On the back side, as far as the glue goes, the glue soaks into the foam itself, and that's the result of the StarLight headliner that I did 2 years ago. It's still one of the craziest ones I've seen, because even if people do a StarLight headliner, most of them aren't two-tone like that. Those lights are all Bluetooth controlled. I can change them from an app on my phone, and I can change every single light, not every single light, but you have two options, like the pink can be changed to any color you want, and the blue ones can be changed to any color you want. Most people just do a single light source, and then also we got some up underneath the visor just in case the sun gets in your eyes. We keep the consistency there. Best StarLight headliner I've seen done on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever you want to say. Still have not seen a StarLight headliner look as good as that one. Don't think I'm going to do a two-tone on the fender liners. The lights are mainly going to be white all the time anyway.
Seen elegance in the form of a black elephant, smoking white rhino on terraces. Will I die slain like my king by a terrorist? Will my woman be Coretta, take my name and cherish it? Or will she Jackie O, drop the Kennedy, remarry it? My sister say it's necessary on some Cleopatra shit. My grandmama said no, never, that is sacrilege. Tend to agree because the thought is so disparaging. The Lord give a load, you got to carry it like Mary did. That's why I'm giving honor to all these baby mamas. It takes a woman's womb to make a Christ of Dalai Lama. The world might take a child, turn that child into a monster. The Lord take
So after the very tedious process of marking everything out and drilling all the holes, we are going to begin our sanding process. Now, since no one's ever done this before, I've ran through the process multiple times in my head of how we're going to do this so it comes out with the best result possible. What we're going to do, we are going to sand all these little nipples on here off that once the drill pokes through, it creates these little plastic frays. We're going to sand all those off. After we run through the whole sanding process, then we will strand through our StarLights. Now, it's kind of tough to explain because I haven't done this yet. After we run through our StarLights, obviously we're going to have a bunch, like probably 1 to 2 feet of extra out here. Probably about 450 extra tails hanging out on the bottom of these. Have the strands cut down to about 1/2 inch on all of them. So when we paint it, or prime it and paint it, the strands will still have a little bit sticking out here, and we'll get good coverage as far as the paint goes. After all the coats of paint are laid down, we will snip that last 1/2 inch off of the fiber optic, and it will show through. And that's how we'll get the color match fender liner with StarLights. Not guaranteeing that that's going to work, but if you guys are seeing this right now, it worked. All right, so now that we are done poking the holes, we have already begun the sanding process, actually. That liner done, and the one that my girlfriend is working on done. As far as sanding goes, we're trying to get a good stick with the paint because they are going to be kind of going up against the elements with rocks and chips and stone, gravel, and dirt, and whatever you want to say. So we're just sanding them down with a random orbital sander. The 180 grit, so the paint sticks pretty nice. They're looking pretty good so far. It's a little tedious. These front ones are a little tedious. If you guys have a Chevy, your inner fender liners are going to be like a fabric, most likely, at least on the newer ones. So you won't have to do this step. However, if you do want to color match those, I don't even know what you'd have to do, honestly. But as far as Ford and Dodge goes, if you want color match inner fender liners, these plastic ones will do the job, of course. However, if you own a Chevy and you don't want them color matched and you just want the StarLights, well, you're in luck because it's going to be, you won't have to do all the sanding. You won't have to do a bunch of steps that we're doing here to make sure that this plastic looks perfect up against the StarLight. Just have to poke the holes and pretty much put them through. So she's working on the StarLights right now because that one's done being sanded, and I have that one left to go, one more on the rear to go. So we're gonna get that finished up, and get rolling. As you've seen us mark, sand, and drill everything with these fender liners. So I did cheat a little bit, kind of, not really. We brought these home late last night and actually got the 2 front ones all strung through. As you can see, we're going to take them back up to the garage right now. If you guys know anything about the StarLight headliners, actual installation process of the fiber optics are actually easier than doing a headliner, so you're in good luck there. However, they are nonetheless difficult to do. They do kind of look like a mess since they are up in here, but once we string that back like that, it'll look a little bit better. We do have these 2 done. These are front 2 fender liners. The rear 2 are up in the garage still. One of them is half done, so we got about 1.5 left to do. I'll show you guys a little time lapse of what it's like putting these lines in, but it's really simple. Kind of, as long as you keep everything organized, it's very simple. There's just under 1,000 strands in these front 2, and like I said, we already got 1 up in the garage, about half done. I'm not going to show you guys doing all of them because it is basically the same process over and over again, but I will show you guys how to do it when we get up there. Just so I don't skip the step of explaining this to you guys and how to exactly do this if you've never done the StarLight kit before. The other 2 that we did in my living room last night are going to differ from the method that we're doing here, the Rapunzel method, as I like to call it. It's a little bit different method, but it's basically the same thing. If you're doing this, make sure everything is organized. That is the only thing I'm doing. 4 StarLight headliners I think I've done, and these also. Just make sure the strands are organized. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a rat's nest. I've done it before, and I've had to restart. Do not, just make sure it's organized. That's it. That's pretty much the only rule. Since this one's already mainly done, I'll give you a close-up. So you mark them out, drill them through, and pretty much just poke them through. It's as simple as that. This kit that I have has a little bit bigger strands in it. They have multiple size strands. Why they do that, I don't really know, but see if we can get this one through here. There you go. As simple as that. So it pokes through, got this long wire, or long fiber optic or whatever. Feed it through until you pretty much run out of slack. And there you go. Now that one, honestly, I just did for you guys, so it's probably not gonna stay there. But you just do that, and then it's as simple as that, and then you just do it 2,000 more times, and you can have what you want. I'm gonna get back to work because we got a long way to go. I'm going to finish this fender liner, and then I'm going to finish that fender liner. Sanding's done, drilling's done, marking's done, removal's done. Still have to strand through the rest of the lights. We still have to prime, paint, snip, clear coat, snip again. Snip as in clipping off the tails on that. And then install. And install is going to get a little tricky. It's going to be a little messy. It's going to look a little messy because honestly, it's kind of hard to control 2,000 strands at one time, but we'll get there. Guys, so it's currently almost midnight up here in the garage. We have this one fender liner finally pretty much secured down to get glued. It looks pretty tidy on camera. It is actually not bad. Up in here, still a mess because we haven't trimmed anything yet. It took probably an hour to get this one fender liner to this stage to get it all lined up like this with the vice grips and everything. This is probably as tight as you're going to be able to get it without gluing it, which is actually our next step. We'll be able to glue it and then pull it tighter once it's on the truck. But with all this slack, these things are going to want to try and work themselves out as you're trying to pull the other ones in. So this is pretty much as good as you're going to get at this stage. Like I said, we're going to be using this jig setup, and we are going to be using clear Gorilla Glue. Test ran a couple strands earlier. This one's in there, it's not coming out. These ones are pretty good to go. We're gonna do that, and then we're also going to layer over a coat of bed liner on top of it to just to help rugged these things out a little bit more, make sure they stick a little bit better. Hopefully that keeps all those strands in. It's currently 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted. I don't even know what number day this is on. We do, however, have the most important part, or the most technical part of the whole project done. In order for these strands to fit properly up underneath the truck, they have to be over to one side. As you can see, here's an example. This string is the same length that we need up underneath the truck, with about a 12-inch tolerance, kind of mimicking the measurement that we need. give it a little slack to kind of fill in that gap there. It's not perfect, but let's say that's about a 6-inch difference right there. We are within a tolerance. I think with the rear ones, we're doing about 10, 12 inches. So that both of these should be perfect, good to go. We have one of the front fender liners right here. What we did with this one is we just pretty much put it up underneath there, and then you can see the strand running up underneath the frame and to that box. So for mounting, this only applies to Ram, not even just Rams, crew cab, regular bed Rams. Like this is pretty much it. So this door right here, and I'm not sure if all trim levels have it, but I'm pretty sure most of them have it. There is a flap up underneath here. To open this flap, insert right here, take that out, and this is the little secret compartment where we are going to store our light sources. We are going to drill through this side for the rear, and we are going to drill through this side for the front light source. Both light sources should be out of the weather, insulated for the most part, kept away from the heat for the most part. Almost directly in the center of where the front needs to go and the rear needs to go. We're going to run the light sources right across here, right across the frame, and tie in right to here. Same with the front. Now, only 2 are going in here, and then the other side, if you can see it over there, are going in that side. So we are about to start the easiest part of the whole process here, and that is snipping off these wires up underneath here. What you're gonna wanna do, you're not gonna wanna cut them flush right off the bat. You can if you're not painting the fender liner. However, we are, so I'm gonna cut them off 1/4 to 1/2 inch long. After the fender liner is actually color matched, then we'll snip it off the rest of the way. Wherever you snip it is where the light comes through. So if we snip it right there, paint over it, no big deal. Just snip that little nub off, and then the light should still show through flush with the fender liner. Girlfriend's helping me out right now. We got all 4 of them to do. We got a big old box of treats here. We got filler primer, a lacquer thinner to help clean the paint gun, and then a bunch of stuff. We got our PXR paint to match the truck's paint right here. Clear coat, hardener, reducer, and of course a bunch of stir sticks. I'm gonna get to work snipping all this stuff. We're gonna set up the paint booth and get to painting. That's what today's all about, is getting the paint laid, and they should be pretty much done. Probably not installed today. Overall, pretty much done as far as the whole process goes.
I keep it real, and no matter who don't like it, homie, that's just how it is. Make it true, like the stripper that's in front of me. And I keep it blunt, and a Bible and a gun on me. Why? Cause I'm country bred.
All 4 fender liners in here ready to set up. We got our lights. What we're going to be doing is laying a layer of Flex Seal over top of all this glue. That rubberized seal says it soaks up impact and with the truck going over bumps and off-road. We're going to do Flex Seal, and then we're going to top coat it with the rubberized truck coating, or truck bed coating, whatever. Pretty much everything is to make sure that these strands do not pop out of the fender liner going on the road or doing something stupid, power washing, even anything. This isn't really a big step, but it's an important step. All right, so the Flex Seal part of the process is done. Head over to the good old Hercules bed liner. You can buy this right at AutoZone, just a can of spray-on bed liner. Like I said, every step we're doing is trying to make sure that these strands do not pop out.
Church of the government, Democrat, Republican, Pope for a bishop or them other men. And I believe God has sustained me with rap, so I take a burning bush, put it in a social rap, and they can't kill a G. I seen how I die. I'm only going once, a coward dies 1,000 times. Into that chariot, come to take a nigga home. Mama spit this ghetto gospel over all these gutter songs. I'm gone.
This is the PXR paint that we went and got. This is color matched to my truck. You guys can see it's a really, really heavy metallic black paint. It's going to be mixed 1-to-1 ratio with our reducer. You can kind of see the flake in there, and that is just absolutely gorgeous. So, all right, guys, so it's like 2 days later after we got done painting all the fender wells. Got the first one in. It looks pretty good up in there. I do have all the StarLights cut. Right now, it's not quite wired up to show you the StarLights, otherwise I would. We got the other 3 right here. I'm going to be working on the rear ones. It's the cleanest install that I could do. You can see this is the StarLight strand right here, completely wrapped in electrical tape. You still got to do a little zip tying, but it runs right back into this ice tray here. We're gonna have to put some kind of caulking around that, some kind of weatherproofing, so water or salt or dirt, mud doesn't get in there. So we have finally started on the actual light install itself. We'll have a light source coming from the front, and we'll have a light source coming from the back, and they're gonna run up along this frame rail and meet in this little ice tray thing that you see here. I already, on this side, I already got both light sources mounted. Put a little bit of foam on top and bottom. I think it's like weather stripping at Lowe's for like 10 bucks. You can buy that stuff. If I move these, we have our 1.5 inch holes cut in both sides. There's another one cut right there. What we are currently doing is pretty much like making a false floor. So after the whole thing's put together, you won't even see the light sources. You won't even know that they are there. This is the ice tray, piece of plastic insert for the ice tray that slides down in here. You can see this is all OEM that slides down in there, and usually it goes down a little bit further, and it pretty much is all this plastic in here. So in order to make room for the light sources, we cut about, I think, 3.5 inches off of this. You can see the bottom of the tray here. This is how it used to be, pretty much the depth of the whole ice tray in there. Use this top piece, take it over here to this piece of plywood, and we made a template, and we are going to cut out false floors, is what I'm calling them. After it's all put together, we'll put a piece of fabric over that. I actually have some Craftsman toolbox drawer liner that we're gonna layer that on top of that and plaster that fabric or material on top of the plywood, obviously bond it together so it'll look factory. No one would know the difference unless you're watching this video.
Nothing to change, I'm just harder to please. Ferrari is making an SUV. We ain't got a choice, we ordering these. Shout out Noel for recording the V's. He know where this shit about to go, cause nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top, but it's gotta be lonely below. You boys getting ready to diss, but don't even mention the O, and don't even mention the foe, unless you boys trying to go broke. Whoa.
So we got all 4 of our light sources here. They come with 2 sets of plugs. They come with a 110 outlet, and they also come with a cigarette lighter. Just for the heck of it, we're gonna cut up the 110 outlet. We already cut one apart, and unfortunately they are not color coded, so we have to connect it to a battery to find the ground. So this is the hot side. We got marked with a pink zip tie. We can just test it right on the terminal here on the battery, and that should be pretty easy. Annoying that they're not color coded, but it's whatever, we can get through it. You have your 2 motors. You have this one right there, and that one right there for the front. You have your hot switch. I got all this spliced in. This goes up through the carpet, wraps around through the dashboard, around over to the driver's side hot switch, which you can't see it, but it's over there. I didn't put that one in yet just to show you guys the motors over there, but here is the final result of what the other side will look like. You open up this trap door, and there you go. I mean, the StarLight motors are up underneath there. You can't see them, you can't hear them. They shouldn't overheat. You can't see the wires, nothing. So you can probably take out this little tray here and see the line going down there. And then obviously we got our plywood cutout here with the toolbox matting on there. And then you just slide this down here. Looks perfect, no seams. No one would literally ever know. Put your little umbrella down in there. Still decent storage. Close this up, roll your good old floor mat down, and no one would literally ever know. Like, this is by far probably one of the cleanest installs I've ever done personally. Reached the end of the road for the StarLight headliners. Now, we got all 4 StarLight Inner Fender Wells hooked up. Everything is on a hot switch. She is officially done. You have your line that goes up behind and up into the fender well for the rear, and then the same for the front. It is all plumbed through the truck, underneath the carpet, the plastics, the dash, the center console, everything, and plumbed right into that hot switch, like I said. And then the same thing for this side. Obviously, I am an amateur. I'm not a professional, but I thought it was pretty clean. So up underneath here, we got our hot switches, StarLight and rock lights. Flick the rock lights off. These are on command. You get only StarLight. Flick that on, flick that off. You get only rock light. Flick both off, you get nothing. Flick both on, and you get both. Pretty sweet. I rounded up all the numbers on how long this whole install took. I know you're probably watching a 15-minute video saying I can do this. Overall, took 55.5 man hours to make that look like that right there. That is, of course, with it being painted, it'd probably take off a big chunk of that time if you were just to do it with your basic plastic or Chevys, put it through that carpet suede stuff you guys got up underneath your fender wells. Crazy install, and you gotta know what you're doing for the most part, because it gets pretty tricky. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a pain to not necessarily make the video was a pain, but to do this install was an absolute nightmare. Hopefully that doesn't deter you away from actually doing it, but I'm warning you right now, it is a big project. I've been wanting to do it for a really long time. Finally decided 2023 is the year to shine, and that's what we are literally doing. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like I said, it was a big one. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't usually say that in these videos, but this one's a really big one. So do that, I guess, if you like the video, and I will see you next time. See you.
Main house. You have executed authority.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
And I just brought in some ends, little bitches the first of the month. Ryan, I'm in the game, little bitch, I'm much head the city, I'm afraid of the sun. All we do is to go number one. All we do is to go number one. All we do is to go number one. And I just brought in some ends, little bitches the first of the month. Ryan, I'm in the game, little bitch, I'm much head the city, I'm afraid of the sun. Head number one up on each hurry, yeah, it's still a what? All we do is to go number one.